All right, this week's episode is brought to you in part by Smokehouse Tailgate Grill and Marinade.
No. You gotta say it's presenting sponsor. I pay a lot of money for this spot.
Presenting, bro. Get it right.
All right, well, I said in part because...
It's not this week, like, I'm the presenting sponsor.
Yeah, he sponsored this thing.
This show?
Yeah, it shows our presenting sponsor.
Yeah.
It's waiting on fries. That you don't get it? What do you mean you don't get waiting on fries?
Hopefully the customer never hears waiting on fries, but all this time on the entree and it's perfectly executed and then you're like,
ready to go.
I forgot to fire the fries.
I just always use that when I forgot to put somebody's order in and I was like, hey, I'm just waiting on the fries. It's going to be 2 more minutes. Realistically, I come back 10 minutes with the food.
Exactly. They just know that their food's not there and the server said they're still waiting on fries.
I guess we're just waiting on fries.
Go ahead, Nibs.
Our presenting sponsor is Smokehouse Tailgate Grill and Marinade, open for takeout and delivery. Find them at the website shtailgate.com. Use the promo code SMOKESQUAD for 10% off your order.
shtailgate.com, com. 10% off. Use code Smoke Squad.
Is that thing you're doing with your hands gonna actually work? Does that do anything?
No, you'll hear it in post-production.
It felt like it was right. Man, we're back. You know, after a little hiatus, we got shut down, obviously, in our other studio because of COVID-19 and, you know, not looking to spread any germs through the studio, which was pretty tough. And people were just like, oh, I thought that was one of those things that you guys started and then just stopped doing.
But it was one of those things we started and then just stopped doing.
Yeah, we started it and then we stopped doing it.
Oh, but
so
now
we're
back.
So we're back.
We got this, right?
We had that 30-minute hot take thing that we did on IGTV real quick. But we got our own stuff now, and now we're back.
Took some time to rebuild, and now we're back better than ever.
And we can never stop now because we can do whatever we want.
Exactly. And not only that, but like people are really excited. They're going back to work.
The people have been asking for this.
You know, they've been sitting on the couch long enough. They can only watch the platform so many times.
Yeah, we came back
disgusted.
just in time for people to stop consuming content.
I know. And now we hit them with some new content while they're out there on the roads.
So they can try to figure out how they can work it back into their busy schedules.
And moving around. So, I mean, you know, it's weird because we're split up a little bit here. Part of this table lives in New York. Part of this table lives in Connecticut, which is odd because we're just a stone's throw away from each other anyway. And the laws are drastically different in each state with COVID.
So when was the last time you got to go out to eat, Justin?
March 16th.
The last time I went out to eat was sometime in March as well. But what about you, Jay? When's the last time you went out to eat?
I went out in Stamford on Saturday night in Connecticut.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you this.
Were there people? Did you see people?
It was a zoo. Like,
that's crazy.
It felt unsafe almost is how many people there were out there.
Seriously?
What the city of Stamford did, and a lot of cities around the U.S. are doing this too, and I guess the world really, they shut down the street in front of all restaurant rows. So what happened when they shut the streets down was they actually invited the restaurants to bring tables out into the street. That way they can actually double up their occupancy, which is great for the restaurant owners, obviously. They need to make a little bit of money, and the city then is kind of backing the restaurants, saying, hey, we want you to stay here and survive because the town would be nothing without any restaurants. So I will say that it was next to near impossible to get a reservation anywhere. We did wind up going
So all the restaurants
somewhere.
that are open are doing reservations only? You can't just walk in and get a seat?
It is table reservation only. You can't just walk in somewhere and get a seat because it was pandemonium on the streets.
And I imagine, too, with capacity limitations, it makes it that much harder to get reservations.
Totally. And the most interesting part of everything is, without there actually being a bar, people are forced to sit at tables and have drinks. So you have no idea what a table flip is going to take because they're not just eating dinner.
Yeah.
They're sitting and having cocktails. Which is also very frustrating, too, because when you're on the outside and just watching somebody enjoy their sangria, you want to punch them in the neck. Absolutely. Really
You're like,
tough.
I want a chance to enjoy my sangria as well.
But I will say that Stanford does have a law in place, too, where they are not having gatherings of 5 people or more sitting at tables, which makes it really hard because you can't go on threesome couple dates because that 6th person is man out. You know,
so you got a third wheel situation, guaranteed third wheel situation.
Guaranteed
Totally.
third wheel situation.
So it was really tough, and we had 6 people. We couldn't even find a spot for a while.
Wow.
Fortunately, we found a place that wasn't as fully crowded as the others, and they could care less about this 5-person rule.
So you're saying you broke the law?
We totally broke the law, and we enjoyed beautiful food, sangria, laughs, drinks. We talked, and I don't even think I have COVID again.
So you were willing to put these people's livelihood in jeopardy so you could sit with your friend?
we all had it already, and we feel like we're good for the next couple months.
That's a very selfish mindset.
What about the other people?
Yeah. What about everyone else?
There's absolutely nobody out eating right now that is fearful of COVID. If they're fearful, they're staying inside their house where it's safe.
I don't think that's true.
That's an interesting take, actually.
I get what he's saying, but I don't think that's true.
No, I mean, how much of the population you think is over it at this point?
Or already had it.
Over it in terms of like
I
they
mean
care
over
less?
it. I mean figurative over it. Like
they don't care about it.
Exactly.
Well, it's a combo, right, of both, figurative and literal.
I mean, how long can you really keep people inside before it's just, I gotta get out. Like, I'm not staying inside anymore.
I understand the feeling of like antsiness about wanting to get back outside, but I think people are still being like sensitive to the fact that they can get sick for going outside.
Are you
for sure.
staying inside more, Noobs?
I go outside when I need to. I don't make frivolous trips outside just to be outside.
And you're masked up on the streets?
Yeah, I got my mask
Or
on
just
me right
when
now.
you go into a place?
How do you feel about going
I only put on a mask when I go into a building. Like if I'm walking my dog on the street, I don't put on a
free
mask.
air is free
What's
air.
your feeling right now about going out to eat? Like, would you go out to eat?
If I could, I would.
You would. Okay.
Well, you could. You could just travel up the block to Stanford and go sit outside on a patio and
You're right.
enjoy beautiful weather and eat.
That's not really convenient for me, but you're right. I could.
My wife actually is still uncomfortable
Going out?
going out to eat. I've asked a couple of times do you want to go out to Stanford? They're open. We can try a place out, see what's going on. And she said, I don't know if I'm comfortable yet actually going out to eat.
And how long do you think until that decision changes?
I don't know.
Because
it's really different. Because for me, I'm okay with it. I'm already.
Because you're out
But
living
I'm
your life
also
already.
out every day. My wife's been stuck at home with our 2 kids for 2.5 months.
And you have kids, so it's a different consideration.
And we have
for you.
kids.
And
but-
let's also recap how long Smokehouse has been open during this whole pandemic, too.
You guys have been open for the majority of the time, right?
We closed on Mondays. Other than that, we've been open.
See, so, I mean, you have a lot of public interaction all day as it is, even though you have a distance
So I
of
think I'm
6 feet or so.
desensitized a little bit to
Totally,
it,
yeah.
where she
Great.
hasn't been exposed. That's the big question, though. I think that we're facing is, what
When will the general public feel safe
yeah,
again?
we're letting people out, and we're letting people go. As we start letting people out and let people go back into restaurants and back into lives, how many people are actually comfortable enough to go and do that? Judging by Stanford, it seems like enough to fill the limited seats. But does that continue? And how do you
I think
gauge
there's
that?
enough people. I think there's enough people that want to go out, given the opportunity to go out. I think there's enough.
I
People.
kind of like the fact that Connecticut opened before us because we
So
can
you can kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, we can sit from afar and judge and say, all right, well, they're doing this. How's that working? How's this working? Does that
Guinea
work?
pigs.
Different ideas. So we have a better idea when we're allowed to reopen, which way we want to go with it and how we want to play, and have a good idea of whether people want to be outside or not want to be outside, how many people to put on staff or not to put on staff, or even allowed to put on staff. I don't know.
Agree. And here, too, in the town of Mamaroneck, this strip is small enough where you could kind of, I think, shut down the street, and let them put more tables outside, similar to
They
what a
do
lot
that
of these towns are
occasionally.
doing.
I haven't heard them talk about that. I know they're not giving out sidewalk cafe permits this year.
They're not.
No, they said they're not going to be in
That's
the interest
interesting.
of keeping the sidewalks open for enough room to social distance as people walk by. So they don't want to bottleneck one side of the
That
sidewalk.
must have been a pretty difficult decision to make based on the number of restaurants on the block. That's
I
like
know, but
literally
I-
taking money out of your pockets.
I don't know if the difference is if they decide to close the street, then there's a lot more space for all that to happen. But as far as the standard sidewalk permits, that they said they're not going to do. So we'll
That's
see.
kind of surprising. I thought they would be like itching to hand those out to
I
bring
know,
business
I
back to
know.
the block.
I will say that when we did go out on Saturday night, the place that we went to, obviously they didn't care about the 5-person max. They were happy to take our money, as I'm sure many businesses are kind of willing to risk after they test the waters. And
Some
if
of
you
them.
know that you're maybe not going to get a ticket outside, I think you would let 6 people sit at a table instead of turning a party of 6 away.
Yeah, but
Our
I can
bill
also
was-
understand the thought process. Like, well, they put these rules in. Someone's going to be around to check. Let's make sure we don't break them.
And
you know?
the city of Stanford is out there, and they are looking,
Yeah.
and they're wearing their little orange shirts or whatever as they walk around.
What's the fine?
I don't even know what the fine is, so I'm not going to speak on it. But sure enough,
But
the
you are willing
tables-
to break the rule.
Yeah, I break the rules all day.
What does the
the
restaurant
table-
get fined, or does the individual get
It's probably
fined?
the
I imagine
It's
restaurant.
the restaurant. They should not be
So of
taking
course
them
Jay
home.
doesn't get
Yeah, it's care less. Yeah, totally. But I mean, those guys know where their limits are, I think, too. And the city of Stanford's not looking to find people and shut them down. They're trying to let them make a little bit of money, make sure that they stay in business and they don't have another.
Just make sure they
vacant
do it
property.
safely.
I think you get into the don't be a dick mentality.
Yeah, that's it.
Where it's, you set 5, say no more than 5. But if you're looking over and there might be 6 people at a table, but everybody's
Kind of trying to be spaced out.
behaving appropriately,
Yeah.
and it's not crowded and whatever, then you kind of look the other way. But if you see it's a problem, then you go in and say
And
something.
I will say that none of these tables were spaced out. The table behind us was literally, your back was
So
touching the other
basically,
piece.
nothing you just said falls.
I'm just saying that we're kind of in this time where I guess me and my mentality personally, I'm not scared of the coronavirus after going through what we feel was coronavirus and being like, okay, that wasn't so bad for my particular situation, and I'm not scared to get it again. Am I out breathing on other people? No, I'm wearing my mask in public places.
Oh, that's good.
That way
That's
I don't
good.
have to breathe on them, and they're not worried and scared. I'm doing it for them.
Doing it for them.
Put my
So
cape on.
let's say, because who knows? Let's say you're plugged into the Stanford restaurant hospitality workforce. I'm sure you have some people that you know and people that you talk to that are involved working at different places, right? What have you seen as their overall attitude about coming back? How many of them got rehired? Did some go kicking and screaming? Well, first of all, let me ask: did Connecticut do the same thing that New York did with that extra like $600 a month?
I got back pay on it. It
Oh,
took
you
a
did?
while. Yeah, they
Oh.
hit that stimulus as well. And
So
I
it
got
was an
back
extra
pay on-
$600 a week?
It was an extra $600, which I'll be very frank and open. Before that stimulus, my weekly paycheck was $256
As
per
most
week.
hospitality employees probably
So
were. Yeah.
what the hell am I supposed to do, right?
How are you supposed to
there's
feel with that?
Things to pay, exactly. You're ready to slit your wrist looking at that coming in
Yep.
every week. So as that back pay did come in, of course that helps a lot. And now that's actually a nice chunk of change for not doing anything, where maybe you can hustle on the side.
Yeah.
But with that said, too, in these interesting times right now where we're kind of on the fence of opening things back up again, and restaurant owners are looking to rehire employees and bring them back, do these employees want to risk it and go back right now when they're making $850 a G doing absolutely nothing but hanging out watching Terminator reruns?
I can definitely understand why some people wouldn't want to come back, but you got to understand that's not going to last forever.
It will not. You are correct.
How many people have been offered? Like, have you been offered a job back?
I have to actually send an email back to Geen, which Danny, our general manager, did send out an email, and I just got caught up. I didn't even answer it at this point.
So the answer is
But-
yes, he has been offered.
Yeah,
So you got an offer.
so there was an email that has gone out that essentially is saying, hey guys, obviously we're not going to take back the whole workforce at once. However, we are looking to hire people back little by little. And also, understandingly, we know some people have moved on from this entire industry, considering we've just taken a severe blow. And who's coming back, who's maybe not coming back. So I do need to answer that back, of course. But also, yeah, are we in any rush to go back to work at this point?
If they said that they wanted you back tomorrow, would you go back tomorrow?
To Geen's, I could not afford to go back tomorrow. And that's just because as a bartender, where we have no bar seats, how are we supposed to make money? From tip outs? Which I guess leads you into another point here, just about pooling houses at this point, where you don't want to lose employees. We have to
But wait,
keep
let's
employees.
not move away from this. So you wouldn't go back if you were offered your job back tomorrow?
Tomorrow, no. In a month, 2 months, or
So-
when things start to open up and
So you're
move
saying you're not going to
forward.
go back until there's actual bar business?
Yeah, why would you work
No, that's fair.
otherwise when
As a
we
bartender,
make
that's
money
fair. That's
at
fair.
the bar?
I mean, it's important to note, though, there are some like caveats with that whole thing, right? Like that letter went out, and I don't know each bar and restaurant's ordeal, but let's talk a little bit about the big thing that was going on for a while, which was the PPP money that went out
Yeah.
to a lot of small businesses, and there's a lot of stipulations that came in to get that forgiven.
Just recover the PPP.
PPP,
There you go.
PPP loan, Paycheck Protection Program.
Yep.
Basically, the idea was the government handed out loans to small businesses that would cover paying your employees for initially an 8-week period, so that the restaurant, or in our case restaurant, so that the small business would not have to come out of pocket for labor. And if you used a certain percentage of that on labor, you could use the remaining percentage towards rent and utilities. And if you hit all of the numbers, that whole loan could be forgiven. And if you didn't hit the numbers, it was a
you'd have
very
to pay it
low
back.
interest rate loan, like 1% or 0.98%.
But one of those conditions was that you had to bring back a certain amount of the workforce by a certain date.
Yeah, you had to A, spend a certain amount of money on payroll itself, B, bring back a certain amount of FTEs, which is full-time equivalent. So it doesn't necessarily mean the number of employees,
But like the payroll equivalent has to be the
but
same
the
as
payroll
the number.
equivalent.
Okay. Yeah.
Although there's so many ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of numbers of actual employees you have to bring back. Then there's a certain amount of FTEs that you have to hit, right? And that letter is important because when a restaurant or business sends out that letter to the employees that have been laid off, they get a response from the employees, either confirming their...
Is it like a form letter that everybody's sending out? Like the
It's
same?
a formal letter,
Yeah.
which is an offer of employment. If an employee accepts it, right, they come back, you get an FTE for that, or a person back. If the employee denies it, you get credit for that as well. So an employee denying the job back,
But that still counts in your favor as you offered the job to them and they chose not to take it.
it credits for the small business. So that they say, I offered the job, they denied it, but I did make the job offer, and you get a credit for one employee there, even if they didn't take the offer. What I don't think that most people notice is that offer to an employee that's on unemployment.
That'll end their unemployment.
That'll end their unemployment.
Yeah.
So if you say no,
Yep,
you've been
that's it.
offered a job. You can no longer answer truthfully the question, "Are you able to work?" Right, and that's you have to answer that every week. Are you
every
able
week
to
for
work?
your unemployment, you have to
So
certify that you haven't been offered
if you've
a
been
job.
offered a job, you are able to work. You denied it. You're no longer eligible for unemployment. And the whole point of that Paycheck Protection Program was to get people out of unemployment. The government would rather pay people to work
Then to pay them to not
than
work.
to pay them to not
obviously,
work, because you're doing twofold. One, you're keeping a business open, so the money you would spend is now keeping a business open and
that employee's getting money
people
that's going
working.
back into the economy. Yeah.
Right, so there is. But I don't think that a lot of employees realize
No.
that if they get that offer and deny the opportunity to work, they are disqualified from continuing to receive unemployment.
I was gonna just throw it over. So it's an
So it's an
essentially
important question. It's
that-
like,
That is an important question.
that has just had to go out legally, pretty much. That had to go out.
yeah, I mean,
that letter.
no,
You would think.
I don't want to speak to any other business. Like, we haven't sent that letter out yet.
But when you do choose to reopen, don't you? You're saying you have to, though.
It would behoove the business to send a formal letter out, because then you need to get formal denials, right? If I'm if I text somebody, hey, you want to come back to work, and they say no, that doesn't count, and then I got to send a formal letter, so it just behooves you to send a formal letter out, so there's a paper trail for the whole thing, and then you can get credit for those denials. But I think it's more important. I think most people don't realize, one, that this is going to end at the end of June anyway. Like, come June 30th, if it's over, and you go back to regular unemployment,
Which is nothing.
And B, if you get a job offer and you deny it, you're also ineligible for unemployment. We're getting kind of close now to the end of it anyway, so I think for the most part,
People just be like, I
you
gotta
might as
go
well
back to
just
work.
go back to work.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the 2 weeks that you save of the free money
Yeah.
and go back to work. I could understand if it was like 6 weeks ago, but it is what it is. And there's also, the House just passed a bill to extend it from an 8-week period to a 24-week
I saw
period,
that, but
which would relax the urgency of the employer to need to bring people back so fast, because that's also getting in trouble. Like, I don't want to hire anybody back yet because we're not even open, but I also need to hire people back
so I don't
so that
go into default with
the
this
loan will
Yeah.
get forgiven. So what do I do, right? Do I just frivolously spend payroll for 8 weeks just so I have the free money and then we're not open? Or do I wait it out or whatever? But if they pass this time extension, it really solves a lot of problems. And then that'll kind of go away a
Yeah,
little
so
bit.
the time extension was passed in the House, but it hasn't been passed in the Senate.
Hasn't been passed in the Senate yet.
Yeah.
And everybody believes it will be. It's just a matter of time. They'll probably wait until week 7, and then everybody's already spent all their PPP money into it, or whatever.
So now that really covers a lot of the perspective of, owner's perspective, really. Now, the people on the other side are wait staff, they're bartenders, and every single situation now in deciding to go back to work at this moment is completely different. Where I can't go to work behind the bar and make any money unless the format of that bar/restaurant is that the bartenders are the ones taking tables and delivering the drinks and doing all this extra stuff, like a lot of dive bars would be. One of the bars that I went to the other day was completely slammed also. and the bartender was running around taking every single table and delivering all the drinks to everybody. And I guarantee she was making a killing in that spot, nonstop.
She was the only front house employee on the floor.
That was it.
Yeah.
Covering, all everyone's sitting down at a table, so it's not that hard considering they're just having drinks and whatnot. So, like, in every situation, it's going to be a little bit different. For me at Tegin, where we have a full staff, wait staff that's been there for 12 years, those guys have seniority over everything, and the wait staff is the focus of that place, not the bartender by any means. So, for me to go back into that location to do that, I make nothing, right? It's peanuts. As opposed to somebody that's working in this dive bar where they're probably walking out with more money than typical. So every situation is unique and different.
I wouldn't imagine, though, they would put you in a position to lose money. Like, for instance, for our own operation, I mean, obviously we'd love to just hire everybody back and go back to normal, but the reality of that is it's not going to be back to normal. We're at, we took off half of the tables and we have no bar service. Literally one person could do very easily do this by themselves, and we're running a limited menu as it is. It's really not that difficult of a thing. If you get every table full and it's really busy, maybe 2 people, but it's definitely not a situation where we need a full floor staff. So that's kind of it's gonna trickle in how we hire people back. And I would say that, seniority aside, most of our bartenders are senior employees anyway. We have 3 bartenders. They've all been here for longer than anybody else has been here anyway at this point. So they would be the first ones back.
Yeah, and that's natural, I think. In most places.
Our game plan is to. Here's the thing: we still need to serve drinks, but we only have table service. So the people that can do that are the bartenders, because they can still make drinks and serve tables. And all of our bartenders, at least for this restaurant, they're all very capable of serving a table, with good enough service to do that. None of them are novice. It's not a party bar.
Yeah.
We have a service.
You have a service standard.
A service mentality here, right? Yeah. So I think our bartenders. I know when service opens, our bartenders will be the first one back, and they'll have the whole floor until business says we need more.
Yeah.
And then our and then it'll go by seniority. Our top service staff will come back first, and then we'll keep pulling back as needed. It won't be all together at once. And I hope everybody can come back, but at the same time, I don't know that everybody is going to come back either. And it's not going to be it's not a performance-based kind of decision. It's a business-based decision. And the hard reality of it is, if July 1st we open up to capacity, who knows how long until we're at full capacity? And does server 3, 4, 5, 6 on the chain really want to wait that long until we get to the point where we need to have all these things back? And I think that's where we're gonna see the real change. That's where
And I do think that people are still hiring outside of their immediate staff anyway. I've gotten some phone callbacks from months ago where people said, "Hey, are you still looking to pick up shifts?" And I'm like, "No, I'm laying on the couch watching Terminator." Leave me alone.
Not yet.
So you see that happening.
July 1, I'll be ready.
Now take Manhattan, for example, Nooms, where you're at, and it's
Where
indoor.
was that?
Is it permanent? No.
Well, so the last thing I heard about that was that they weren't opening until there's a vaccine. USHG isn't opening the majority of their restaurants until there's like a hard, safe vaccine for all this.
Can you sustain having an operation like that? Like, how deep can the pockets be where you're not looking to make money and you're just like, we'll wait?
I think the pockets at USHG are pretty deep.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know what that looks like for Manhattan, to be completely honest. I know a lot of my employees aren't going back to the kitchen.
And they're now taking up other things, or what?
There's so one guy in particular, he's like taking computer programming classes. He just said he's not going back to the kitchen. So this is one of my coworkers who left and got a new job at Momofuku Co. And Co. closed 2 of their New York restaurants. So they closed their 2 New York City restaurants, and he wasn't given any sort of timeline for when his restaurant would reopen. So he's just making his own plans to not be doing this anymore.
I mean, these are crazy times. We've definitely taken a hospitality blow here, and
I feel like that's going to be like a common theme for the next couple of months. A lot of people making changes, but
correct. And we've said it before too. Those guys that were holding on will not be here.
I think months is optimistic. I really do. I think Muntz is optimistic. I think we're looking at a solid year before we can start seeing some normality back in what we know as a more normality back in the hospitality industry. I think we're lucky. This restaurant, or my restaurant, is lucky to
be able to still be open.
Be open, and we run at a capacity where takeout is a thing. There's a lot of restaurants where takeout is not.
Takeout's not a thing
feasible.
in Manhattan.
Okay, that's a great example.
Exactly.
What floor are you on?
60 floors in the sky.
Yeah,
like luxury food.
How do you operate?
That's not takeout.
Takeout 60 floors. Manhattan is closed for the most. There's not even people there.
Yeah.
For the most part, So, we're lucky that we have a giant window in the front, and it kind of naturally just. Barbecue food too naturally is an easy takeout food. You get some ribs and wings or whatever, and it's easy. But I kind of feel for the restaurants that don't have that option or didn't have a strong takeout background to build off of.
Just think, so the entire USHG family of restaurants, it's 20 plus restaurants. The only two that I've heard been opening was Daily Provisions and Marta. And I think Marta hasn't even opened up yet. Daily Provisions opened up for takeout, I believe, last week. But out of all of the restaurants in the company, those are the only two that are doing takeout right now. So it's going to be a big pivot for everybody else to see if they're even able to catch up.
Yeah, and I think the jobs that are going to be there as restaurants start to open back up are going to be limited as long as capacity is limited. Yeah. If you're at 25% capacity, expect the 25% workforce. It's just economics 101, right? Supply and demand. Like, we're not going to overstaff. It's not fair to the employees that you're employing because they have to make a certain amount of money, and you're also don't want to spend the payroll. You can't responsibly afford to spend the
if you're not going to make any money
and keep the business alive. So it's going to be a while before we start to see that.
You would have a little bit more optimism though too if you saw how busy these streets in Connecticut were on Friday and Saturday. Just beautiful day all day long. It wasn't even just like a night thing. It was like an all day long thing, where it's like that just like pent up demand.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes to people just wanting to be out.
Yeah, and that's good. I'm happy to see that because one of our biggest fears is we're open and now we have to put the floor staff on and nobody
comes in the door. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen.
But I think it's been long enough where enough people are like, I need to go out. I need to go out. I need to see other people than the two people I've been in the same house with for 3 months. I need to be done. I need to be out.
True. That beer that you're sipping on right now is made by Sloop Brewing Co. I believe it's the Juice Bomb, and it is GD fantastic.
It is Juice Bomb.
There's a lot of citrus notes in there. Can you feel the bubbles on your tongue every sip that you take?
I can.
I bet those
don't wait that long.
Pretty damn. I bet those are pretty damn delicious.
Goes down easy.
Oh, that's why I'm still at half a beer here, and you guys are up to your third, huh?
Second.
Who's counting? I thought we were all having fun here.
Having a great time.
Okay, enough jokes being said here, guys. Can we get serious again for 1 second? Jesus,
sure.
Is this really a serious show?
Such a serious thing. There's a lot of things to be talking about right now. There's guys losing their businesses, and we're trying to keep them intact here.
That's serious.
Pour some Sloop out for the homies.
So, with all this that we're talking about in people coming back and people not coming back, there are people coming back into the restaurants, and the people that are coming back to work into these restaurants are making this tough decision. Is it worth it? Can I make enough money? And now I know from just talking to you a little bit ago, Just, that you said that you are essentially pooling here.
Yeah, it's been. Let's say it's not a definite decision yet, but it's definitely a winning option right now, which seems to make the most sense based on the not knowing what people are going to be able to make. I don't know, for lack of a better way to say that.
Yeah.
Since it's going to be hard to predict the business levels and predict, are you going to make the same tips as you were before, or is your wages? We're going to pay a higher hourly wage as well.
Oh, really?
For the interim. So we kind of announced, we did a Zoom with everybody we were waitlisted. We did a Zoom with everybody we had laid off and kind of talked about
I was thinking about joining that Zoom call. But I didn't know whether I should or not.
We got everybody together and kind of gave a State of the Union, basically explaining what we've been doing for the past 2 months, the state the restaurant is in, what we're going to do going forward, kind of some ideas that we've been throwing back and forth because, week to week it's changing anyway, so we don't even know. Like, whatever we decided Monday and then 3 or 4 different things happen in the week, and we're like, okay, well, maybe that's not the good idea anymore. So, but one of the things we did introduce is that for a 4-week period when everybody comes back, we're just going to pay them like a higher hourly wage above the minimum wage.
So you're also a different breed, and I think that's something that should be brought out too. You really do take care of the people that work for you at the end of the day. And there's a lot of establishments whose owners could care less. They don't really go that extra mile to take care of people. And through the countless environments that I've worked through over the years, it's evident that there's a lot of places that you're just the help at the end of the day in the place, and that's it. Where you come in with Just here, where I feel like you pay higher wages as it is already. You're making a conscious decision to say...
Let's not say falsities. We pay the server a minimum wage. They probably do a little better than most places because of the quality of the restaurant. So I don't think anybody's going poor working here by a long shot. But normally we pay the server wage. It's not over that.
But at the end of the day, I'm saying that you take care of your family here a lot more than a lot of places do.
We try to make sure that everybody's
everything.
doing well, yeah.
Correct. So in, having this uncertainty of how many people are going to be coming out to the restaurants and be out here actually sitting in lower occupancy once this is open out here, how many people are you going to need? You already have a staff of a handful of people in here. Today, when I just walked in here, you had what? Two people walking around in here?
3 people.
3 people walking around in here?
Well, 2 of them were the owners.
Yeah.
Ryan, Jones, Yosley.
Yeah, Cook. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've been working.
And you're here in addition. You are essentially an employee in this battlefield,
yeah,
right?
of course. But we've always been that way, so that's not odd to me. Mike
It's
and
been that way since day one.
Mike
Literally
and I have
since day
always
one.
worked an actual shift. We're not just walking around watching.
The day that I walked in and asked you for a job, you were sweeping the floor. Like the guy was sweeping the floor.
Still
You were like, can I speak to the owner? And he's like, it's me. I go, stop pulling my leg.
You guys still hiring me?
You're
Can I get a job? And you're like, yeah, let me ask my partner. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay. And, what we just also discussed, which was interesting, which I haven't even really put any thought to, is pooling for the week, which makes it even more even because every day is a little bit different as far as people going out. And
yeah, I think the key element behind that was making sure that we're providing the best product that we can provide all the time when we come out of this, because you're making first impressions again. It's gonna be 3 months,
3 to 4 months
since anybody's walked inside this restaurant and sat at a table that wasn't an employee.
Yep.
So you have to kind of come at that as like everybody's a new, even though not everybody, even though there'll be several people that have been here before, they're going to walk into a new environment, a new operating system, a limited menu, kind of new way to do it. New rules, new restrictions. It's going to be everybody's first time again.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to kind of make sure that we can be consistent across the board, and we can't let ourselves get into the frivolous arguing over, well, I got to work a day shift or a night shift, or this shift is better, that shift is better, or whatever, which is, we always tried to spread it out so no one is predominantly, we always used to have a situation where someone would have to take one for the team, quote unquote, and work the Monday lunch, which we know is slow, but someone's got to work it, right? In this scenario, we really want to focus and make sure we're going to give a consistent product and that everybody's happy. So whether
you get
you're
a good
working
Monday lunch experience as well as you get a good Friday
so
dinner
if you're
experience.
working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday lunch, and you get no Thursday, Friday, Saturday dinner, you still benefit from Thursday, Friday, Saturday dinner, because we want the experience as a whole and the week as a whole to be successful. So our idea, although it's not confirmed that we're going to do that, is to take everything out for the whole week, divide it up, everybody gets the same hourly rate, and pool it. And I don't know. If you had to ask me, am I going to lean? Is that going to be forever? Probably not. But I think in the interim, as we try to figure out.
I think that's a good.
I think as we try to figure it out, the fairest way is to make sure no one ends up on the short end of a stick.
Yeah.
And no one's getting way too much, and no one's getting way too little.
And that takes a lot of trust from your employees as well, though. I mean, you come from my side of the board where we work in these late night bars. Cash goes downstairs with the manager a lot of times, and then people go, this isn't adding up. Why is it not as much as it should be?
No
The places that typically the places where the cash just goes downstairs and nobody hears a word from it ever again are the places that aren't having conversations like the one that he's having right now.
Agree.
Like the fact that he's even thinking about this shows that.
Agree. And that's the point to bring up really at the end of the day. So with that being said, too, we're making sure everyone's making money. Do you think that we're going to have to create new types of specials to bring people into the restaurants? Or do you think that pent-up demand is just there where people are just going to be coming out like I just saw on the streets of Stamford over the weekend? Do we have to make absurd specials like I just saw in the bar? 3 for 1 Bud Lights?
No, I don't think you need to make absurd specials. But I think now more than ever is the time to be resourceful and just be mindful about doing things the right way. Like not buying things that are out of season and not buying things that are, ridiculous just for the sake of having something like that on the menu, you know what I mean?
And that's cutting your costs really too at the end of the
just
day.
make smart decisions in terms of your menu now.
Yeah, and I think you have to make sure that you're operating in a way that you can ensure safety, number one.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be doing too many things where...
You don't want to overextend yourself in the time.
If you have too many menu items where you may not be able to execute everything and be able to, change your gloves and wash your hands in between every interaction, every time you pick up a different spatula. Because, right now... It's like every time you change your mood or,
every time you start a new task.
Every time you start a new task, you got to change your gloves and wash your hands.
Yep.
Just for safety-wise, or you have to mask, or you have to kind of build in time where you can take a second, step off the line, take your mask off, get a drink of water or whatever, where this all used to be real quick. Or you just grab a drink of water real quick. You can't do that anymore. You got to wear a mask. You got to wear all this extra stuff all the time. So if you got to take a drink of water, you have to, get off the line, go get a drink of water, take your mask off, breathe for a second, go back to the line. So, putting in a special where you're almost ramping up to get that high volume is contradictory to what you want to actually
for what you
be
need to be
doing
right now.
The operation you want to be doing. So that's why we're going to come out. We're going to run a really limited menu, really limited menu.
More limited than you're already right now at.
Definitely not more than we're at right now.
I was about to say, what are you doing?
Definitely not more than we're at right now. Maybe a little bit less just to keep operations well. Yeah. You're also going to see it's really hard to execute right now. The takeout is wild because we're doing I don't know if it's definitely not like this for everybody, but I know it is for some places. We're getting a rush. Like Saturday night, we're doing almost the same revenue number that we're doing on a normal Saturday night, but it's all takeout.
Yeah.
So you don't have the bar business, which kills your margins, number one.
But if you're doing almost the same amount of revenue, you're doing X amount more tickets than you were doing.
Way more tickets. Yeah. And the thing is, the same amount of revenue, but instead of being at a lower margin because you have the alcohol sales to offset it, you're all at that 30-40% margin. 30-40% cost instead. So that that kind of hurts a little bit, but the crazy part is that we don't have the flow of the restaurant anymore. So where you would have people come in at 5:30, and then people come in at 6:30, and then 7:30 and 8:30.
It's all like 7
and
8 o'clock.
Right? Like you can't get a table at 7. Okay, so we'll eat at 8:30.
Yeah.
Well, now everybody's at home.
Everybody's
eating
dinner at dinner
time
time
at the same time. So it's like 5:30 to 7:30. Everybody eats. And you basically do the same amount of revenue you do in a 7-hour burn in 2 hours. And it's madness.
That sounds
complete madness.
That sounds fun.
The fact that we get 90% of the orders right and don't mix up the sides on it, you should see the amount of boxes that are going out in 2 hours is ridiculous. And the fact that we can at all figure out where it's going is a miracle on its own.
I will say that Saturday before we wound up going out in Stamford, I also took a trip to Westport and we went to Bar Taco. And we did sit down outside, which is an interesting experience in itself. You must wear your mask to the table. You sit at the table. They give you your little, if you're familiar with Bar Taco, they give you a menu and a pencil, and it's in a little closed case, so it's nice and clean and sanitized. And then you open it, you fill it out, you have to put your mask back on, and you walk up to a takeout window in which you put your order in, you pay for your meal. You also order your drinks there. And then you go put your mask still on, back to the table, you sit down, and you wait for your name to get called up at the front. Then you have to put your mask back on from the table. That's 6 foot apart from everybody.
Whenever you're sitting at the table, you can take your mask off, but whenever you leave the table, you have to put it back on?
Correct. So then you get up with your mask on to go get the food.
You have to put your mask on to go to the bathroom?
Anytime you leave your table, you have to have a mask on.
Wow.
Yeah,
and
I've heard that too.
Now, in walking over to put my order in, I peered inside just to see how many employees were there. Huge staff still. And as I'm looking to see how many staff members are there, there's obviously no bar stools because there's no bars available. However, the entire bar was just lined up with about 45 bags of to-go orders.
Stuff,
And this was about 5:30 or so. So, like...
Yeah, it's crazy.
I could believe it, yeah. These guys are still getting business. People are still eating. They don't want to cook at home. They could care less.
So I think in terms of doing a special, instead of doing something that's a loss leader, for lack of a better term,
you
a
don't
loss
need that
leader.
right now.
You don't need a loss leader now. But what you can do, and I think what we end up ultimately will do when we reopen, is take some of those things that we took off the menu
And just bring it back one
do
at
it
a
on a
time.
certain day.
Yeah.
So if we took a French dip off the menu, we'll say, you know what, Friday.
French
we're
dip
gonna
Fridays.
we're gonna do French dip on Friday.
You
You know, so and that way okay, we're gonna be doing this tonight. We're gonna
Yeah.
make like 50, 60 sandwiches.
Yeah.
We're ready for it. We know to bang it out. We know it's gonna be the thing, and then we can make that on Friday. Or we used to do brisket Wednesdays, but we sell way too much brisket now to bring it off. the
Yeah, I've
menu
heard
again.
about that.
It's crazy.
How many briskets do you guys cook per day?
Not too many. Not too many.
Like more than we did on Wednesdays, or
Yes, but we've been limiting it. So like during the week, we've been making only one because we want to make sure we get
one a day?
Yeah, just like Monday, Tuesday. I don't want to like make it sound like we're greater than we are. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we make like one or two.
Yeah.
That's Justin right there. Undersell, over-deliver.
And then, we make like one or two, but I mean we sell it out in like an hour.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't
I
last
know.
very long.
Mike's been telling me that he's wanted to hand me a slice of brisket. He says whenever he thinks about putting it in my order, it's already gone by the time
Yeah,
he
it's already
tastes
done. Like it doesn't last long. It comes out at like 5, and by like 6 o'clock we're sold out.
Yeah.
So we could clearly make a lot more and sell it out, but we just don't, because
You want to do it right.
we want to make sure it's gone. So
Yeah.
it's like a thing. But then on the weekends we're making a bunch. Oh yeah, but and let me tell you, I'm just gonna go off topic for a second. That shit is dialed the fuck in right
Yeah.
now.
The ribs that I had him cook for me were so nice. They're really
Dude.
nice.
Mikey's doing something special back there right
Yeah.
now. I'm telling you right now.
I'm mad he's not here right now.
The
I
brisket-
get him to get
The
something.
brisket that we have been putting out is just, it's fucking awesome.
You're backing it hard. What was that? What was the coupon code?
Smoke Squad, 10% off your order.
Smoke Squad.
You can't even
10%
get
off?
that online, dude. You got to call in
Yeah,
in
you
the
gotta call in,
morning.
yeah,
do
and
like
reserve
at
your order of
11:30
brisket.
and reserve that shit. It
Yeah.
comes out at like 5 o'clock.
I can vouch for that. I've been trying to get brisket for a couple weeks. Hasn't
And he
happened.
knows the guy, and he still can't get it. It's like,
You guys are making me a little bit hungry. Nooms, I think
Speaking
you
of
said
hunger,
something to
yeah.
me, right?
We've,
What are you
we've got a
doing?
little snack. We got some Wagyu Kulo. Shout out to Snake River Farms. Snake River Farms is one of the suppliers we used at Manhattan. And so me and some of my coworkers got together and decided to, since we were all out of work and we weren't going to be hanging out, we were going to eat good on our separate own little Memorial Day weekend. So we ordered a bunch of Wagyu. So I brought
Awesome.
in some Wagyu for you guys
So
to
you're going to
taste.
make a little Wagyu? I can never say it.
I'm going to cook up some Wagyu for you guys.
You know what I'm going to do? I got my camera in the car. I'm going to go record that. The whole thing with you making it. You can instruct them on how to cook that thing perfectly, and they could go find that on the website, I think, right?
Yeah, they can find it on the website.
Waitingonfriespodcast.com. I'll put it up there in the news section or something, wherever it goes.
There should be a video section or something
we'll
like
even make an Instagram post.
that. Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
make
we
it.
can
Does
do that.
anybody
We
even
can make
still
that.
use Instagram, or do we have to make a TikTok now?
I'm so done with you.
I'm not making a TikTok.
Yo,
Me either.
TikTok is where it's at.
Nah.
Smokehouse has TikTok.
Go hit shtailgate.com. Go use Smoke Squad, 10% off.
10% off your orders, takeout and delivery.
Boom. Go buy a Sloop Brewing Co.
Juice Bomb IPA.
Juice Bomb IPA, or plenty of other delicious beverages.
They do have plenty of other beverages to choose from.
They're
Can
doing
I
good
actually-
things over there.
Can I pour another one, or am I cut off?
Yeah. We'll go pour some beers, cook
Gotta
some
have a good beer with
Wagyus.
steak. Good
But,
to be back. Can't wait for next week.
Great to be back.
Yeehaw.
Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button because, algorithms.
Algorithms.
There it is.